tea and pomegranate. This dish is the restaurant style quality food. It's really simple to make from start to finish in less than half an hour. What you can see here is literally everything I'm going to need to make this dish for 4 people. I've got 4 pieces of salmon just here. It's key to have the skin on. 2 pomegranates whole, we're going to cut them in half so there's half each. 4 green tea bags here. I've got a handful here of coriander that I'm going to chop up. 1 fresh lime, a little bit of honey and some salt and pepper mix. Not forgetting some olive oil here, extra virgin. And then the rice to accompany the dish. First thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 180 degrees. Get a pan on the boil for some rice. Next thing you need, cake tin, Yorkshire pudding tin, whatever you want to call it. Take your pomegranates, chop them in half. Pomegranates into the Yorkshire pudding tin. Careful not to get this juice anywhere you don't want it, because it does stain. So you got your pomegranates in your Yorkshire pudding tin into your preheated oven. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, you want to grab a pan, a little bit of olive oil in there, onto some heat. While that's heating up, you want to take your 4 green tea bags and just rip them open, pour the contents out into a bowl. So it's 1 green tea bag per fillet. I've got 4 fillets, 4 green tea bags. Okay, so you want to take your salmon, roll it around in the green tea mixture, get a good, as much of it covered as you possibly can. Set to a side for a moment. You want to do the same to all 4 fillets. 4 salmon fillets covered in green tea. You want to grab some grease-proof paper and line an oven dish, and we'll put that to a side for later on. Your pan's been on the heat for a couple of minutes now, and the oil in there is nice and hot. Skin side down with the salmon, straight into the pan. If you can get a non-stick pan, that's definitely better. You don't want the salmon to stick. What we're going to do, we're going to lightly fry that salmon just for a couple of minutes, skin side down in the pan, and we're going to take the salmon out and take the skin off. Then the skin's going back into the pan to crisp up, while the rest of the salmon goes into the oven to cook at 180 degrees for about 10-15 minutes, just to finish it off nicely. After a couple of minutes, be very careful, take your salmon off, use a fish slice, take your salmon out of the pan, back onto your board. You see what's happened now is the skin underneath the salmon is cooked, but the rest of the salmon isn't. It just makes it a lot easier to get the skin off the salmon now rather than when it's raw. So you want to make sure you're using a really sharp knife for this. So what you want to do with your fillet here, you've got your sharp knife, starting from one end right by the skin, as close to the skin as you can. Just glide your knife all the way down the back there, taking the skin off the fillet, and what you're left with is the rest of your salmon fillet that's raw here, and this piece of skin here. Pop that back into the pan, soft side down, and pop the rest of the fillet into your oven tray just here. So we've now got the crispy skin back in the pan just here, and the fillets in the oven tray. I'm going to pop this now into the oven with the pomegranates we had in there earlier. Just make sure you reduce the heat on this salmon skin, because you definitely don't want it to burn. If you want, you can even turn it off and just use the residual heat left in the pan from cooking the salmon earlier to cook it for now. What you're aiming to get is a piece of skin that is not flexible. It doesn't bend. It's nice and crisp. So we're only about 10 minutes into our cooking process. We have our rice on, we have our crispy skin in the pan, we have our salmon in the tray in the oven, and we have our pomegranates baking nicely in there as well. So the next thing we're going to do is just prep a little bit of garnish for the end. So what you want to do is grab your lime, grab your coriander and your honey. So you just want to roughly chop your coriander. Don't go too overboard with it, just nice and rough. That's all you want to do. What I'm going to do is cut the lime into wedges. Don't forget to keep checking your skin. You don't want it to burn on either side. So keep turning it over every now and again. No kitchen is complete without one of these. You can get plastic ones or metal ones. They're just cake slices, pastry slices, whatever you want to call them. These are used, or I'm going to use them for the rice. It just makes your dish look a lot better, very professional, very restaurant-like. I've just taken the pomegranates out of the oven here, so basically now what we have is lovely loose flesh on there, so the seeds just fall out. I'm going to grab yourself a bowl. Careful, because these pomegranates will be very, very hot. They have just been in the oven for 15 minutes. You're going to grab yourself a towel, the pomegranate in the other hand. Just squeeze it lightly over the top of the bowl. Use your knife just to scrape the residual leftover seeds into the bowl. So when you've got all those pomegranate seeds out into the bowl, you want to add your honey. And the heat from those seeds will just liquefy that honey down to a lovely sweet syrup with that. Complements the flavour fantastically. Give it a little bit of a mix just to help it on its way. When the honey's gone in the pomegranate seeds and your crispy skin is crispy, firm, and it stays straight like that, it doesn't start flopping about, take that off the heat. About now your rice should be done too. Set your pomegranate seeds to a side. Grab yourself your plate and your pastry slice. Pop it in the centre of your plate. And then you just want to spoon your rice inside the pastry slice and give it a little bit of persuasion, a bit of push down with your spoon. Carefully lift it off. I don't know if you can see that. We've got a near perfect cylinder of rice on there. Grab your fish slice. Take your salmon. Place it carefully on top of your rice there, as you can see. Again, carefully. You can see my crispy skin is crispy, it's not wobbly. That one goes on top of your salmon, balance it on there. Now into your coriander, you want to squeeze one single wedge of lime. So you want that juice out of there. And pour a tiny little bit of olive oil in there. Give that a little bit of a mix up. And then just loosely dot that around your plate. Get your salt and pepper mix from earlier. A little bit of a sprinkle of that on there. Last but not least, your pomegranate seeds that are just resting in some honey there. Scatter them around your plate nicely, and it will be like a flavour you have never had before. Okay, and there you have it. Your crispy green tea salmon, white rice, pomegranate seeds.